Jeremy Sitka, Collin County Democratic Party Chair and one of the Progressive Caucus leaders. Progress Texas is helping turn this state blue, and we're going to go and make this the most progressive state in this country.
It is April 28th, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch, rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm your host for this week, Tatum Owens, and here at Progress Texas, we amplify progressive values, leaders, and actions. Through our no paywall podcasts and digital media, we reach millions of Texans monthly, and that's made possible by folks like you who invest in independent, progressive media by Texans for Texans. Our thanks to Gene Robinson, John Gerner, and Robert Wyatt for their ongoing, sustaining support. Yesterday was the last day to register to vote for the May 26 runoff elections that tee up our ballots for November. And with that deadline came a ruling handed down from the Supreme Court. Jim Saxa, Democracy Docket, reported yesterday that the mid-decade racially redistricted congressional maps will be upheld. In a 6-3 decision, the Roberts Court reversed a lower court's ruling and cemented the formerly temporary maps for the 2026 midterm elections. This does not come as a surprise, but it's still worth noting that despite the ruling, we Texans know the impact of these maps, which is excluding and diluting the votes and civil rights of our Black and brown neighbors. On the matter, Texas State Representative for House District 102, Ana Maria Rodriguez Ramos, summarizes it well. Quote, "Our brazenly corrupted United States Supreme Court once again bends the knee to the Trump regime, but this time, following redistricting in California and Virginia, they are too late. After a year of raising prices for American families, unleashing masked thugs onto the streets to kidnap our neighbors, and unleashing another pointless war for oil, Republicans know that their policies are not popular. They have consistently lost elections across the country since 2024, even in traditional Republican strongholds. They know that if there is a fair election, they will lose their majority in the U.S. House in 2026. So their plan is simple: cheat." Unquote. Rig the maps, and you can win an election. Who knew? So, there's the expected but unfortunate update that our Supreme Court continues to deliver regressive rulings in step with their bestie leader of the so-called free world, Trump. I'll remind our listeners about the rarity of this process being invoked, that before California and Virginia followed in Texas's steps, that mid-decade redistricting just didn't occur. But a mandate came from Trump to keep Congress's slim Republican majority intact, so now it does, and we're keeping the maps. FYI, Florida is starting up a special session to redraw its maps, so this story ain't over yet. Similar to the rarity of mid-decade redistrictings engaged by the president, Gromer Jeffers Jr. at the Dallas Morning News reports that Trump is seeking to draw attention and Republican engagement to Texas again, with a national midterm convention based in Dallas. It's not uncommon for a state party to hold a midterm convention, with parties convening every 2 years. However, this national convention is something you would really only see in a presidential election year. And just like the redistricting, it could backfire. Jeffers notes that coming to Texas would ignite the Republican base and would also guarantee pushback, saying, quote, "Democrats are likely to stage counter demonstrations in the core city of one of the state's bluest counties," unquote. With increased attention on the Republican Party's failures associated with Trump and beyond here in Texas, and with Trump's favorability at a -17 net approval rating, it feels fair to say they're running scared and grasping at straws. Rig it, lie about it, start a war to distract from that and your pedophile allegations, post an image saying you're Jesus, demand mass deportations. All things that don't seem to be polling too well, hence the map rigging. On that note, Evan Mintz at the Houston Chronicle reports on some key stats for voters in Texas, sharing a Kinder Institute survey that shows most Houstonians oppose mass deportation. A helpful reminder that when most of us get offline, away from the bots, we remember our humanity, and that most of us are normal people with normal views. It's just that these are abnormal times under an authoritarian autocrat. And still, less than 1 in 5 surveyed out of 8,400 thought mass deportations were the right decision to address immigration. Less than 1 in 5. And 75% of Houston residents surveyed favored increasing pathways to citizenship instead, not abducting, detaining, and deporting. Mintz shares a crucial stat in my eyes, sharing, quote, only among self-identified extremely conservative correspondents did mass deportation outweigh pathways to citizenship. And even then, it had 49% support, failing to garner a majority, unquote. So, even if this Republican midterm national convention takes place in our state, especially in a blue stronghold like Dallas, who's to say that the majority of Republicans that show up even agree with one of the party's key agenda items? That convention will come later this year, and in the meantime, polls are down and Texans are still protesting the inhumane conditions at ICE detention centers. April Towery at the Houston Press reported that near the Conroe Detention Center, which contains a daily average of almost 1,000 adults, that, quote, protesters gathered Saturday at an intersection near Spring Creek Barbecue along Interstate 10 in Katy, holding signs emblazoned with the words, "Communities, not cages," unquote. This article is a hard but must-read, showcasing the numbered cases of abominable treatment and neglect in ICE detention and processing facilities. Our state features about 30 in total, not to mention county jailhouses for those awaiting transport, a group of people that I would imagine will only grow with the recent updates in Houston, Dallas, and Austin, enforcing more cooperation between ICE and police departments. Towery gives detailed accounts, highlighting the inhumane conditions that I'll recommend you read, but for now, take this stat with you. Our state leads the nation in ICE detainees, with more than 18,000 people in custody. I hate that we lead the nation in only the worst things, and it seems that our leaders are dead set on and really excelling at continuing that trend. However, I believe in the people of Texas. We're tired, redistricted out of our leadership, stripped of proper wages, and all the other depressing facts, and still, we unite around what matters. That number from before, again, 75% of Houstonians want better options, gives me hope. Our people will protest for and believe in a better version of Texas by the majority. That's true for folks statewide and in Big Bend, with Trump's border wall plans causing continued dissatisfaction and uproar. James Osborne at the Houston Chronicle details the coalition of people united against border wall expansions into Big Bend National Park, a treasured, sacred site full of biological diversity known for its birds, reaching rivers, and canyons, but in Trump's eyes, property to be bulldozed. Osborne reports that the new activity around the parks has local officials on edge, with Customs and Border Protection repeatedly changing plans, online maps, and public statements, leaving everyone confused. This comes after widespread unrest about the wall plans, which caused the Trump administration to initially backtrack. People named in opposition to the wall in the article range from former Trump administration officials, ranch owners, activist groups, science centers, churches, and more, including a recent coalition of the heads of all 14 of Texas's border counties. They, quote, wrote a letter to U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin asking the administration to communicate with county governments before infrastructure plans are finalized in the interest of getting this right, unquote. As we finish out, I checked with the National Park Service page for Big Bend for this story, which, by the way, remains an often updated website for all the havoc Trump and Congress have brought to NPS between massive cuts to their operations, public land sales, and through multiple government shutdowns. To my fun fact, though, if you visit the NPS website page for Big Bend, they detail the beauty and importance of the park. And most importantly, they finish the description of the park with a message that resonates. Quote, "It's a land of borders, a place where countries and cultures meet," end quote. I couldn't have put it better myself. And that is all that we've got today. But before you go, a reminder, don't forget today is the last day to early vote in local municipal elections. There are not one, but 2 Texas elections on the calendar. Local, city-level elections, as we said, early voting ending today, and with the actual election taking place Saturday, May 2nd. And the statewide primary runoffs on May 26th. Early voting for the runoffs will occur on May 18th. By the way, the Texas Tribune has released some recent summaries of top ballot candidates for the runoffs, including Lieutenant Governor, Attorney General, and Railroad Commissioner. Just some summaries there, and recommend giving those a read as you prepare to vote next month again. More on all of this at our carefully crafted voting information website, govotexas.org. And there's a nice online tool from the Texas Tribune as well that shows you exactly who will be on your runoff ballot based on your address and party. See that link in the show notes. And we have not one but two live events on the calendar right now in both Dallas and the Houston area. First, we'll be in Cypress at the very cool Creekwood Grill for a live podcast taping with new Cy-Fair ISD board members. We want you to be there, but seating is limited and an RSVP is required to attend. This happens on the evening of Wednesday, May 20th. See the links in the show note for a link to get registered. And thank you to Sean Finney for sponsoring this event. Additionally, here at Progress Texas, we are getting ready for a 16th anniversary celebration in Dallas with drinks, light bites, and a fun review of the highlights of our successes over the last few years. Save the date, which is Tuesday, June 16th, and see the link in the show notes to reserve your spot. Thank you to sponsors Howard Cleon, Charles Zeller, Alex Andrade, the Honorable Bill Peterson, and Mark Yagjian. So definitely check us out at those live events, and in the meantime, you can snag some merch to match your values. Our web store is live and ready for you to grab Humans Against Abbott, Y'all Means All, and Resist shirts, stickers, and buttons. Hit the web store at progresstexas.org to support your favorite podcast network today. That is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for today. Links to all of these original stories can be found in our show notes. When lies in Texas are well funded by the far right, your support for fact-based reporting is needed and appreciated. I'm Tatum Owens. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again tomorrow.